Hello everyone and welcome to this new Grand Tema. Today's topic is data-driven policies. Through them, how can companies be more productive, more resilient, and more competitive? This is what we'll discuss with my guest of the day, Kim Herrington, Senior Analyst at Forrester. Hello, Kim.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. At Forrester, you specialize in data storytelling, data literacy, data leadership. Storytelling, literacy, these are not words that you get to see too often associated with the data. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, let's hope to change that for you. So data literacy is the ability to read, work with, argue, and analyze information in context. Usually data storytelling training is really about how to communicate with that data and really tell the narratives, the here's what, so what, now what of the data itself.
So throughout the years, companies' data policy have evolved a lot. Data itself, the treatment of data for the company, it has changed from something that companies didn't really know what to make of, from something that is basically considered the new oil. Could you tell us a bit more about how it has changed for the company throughout the years, how the policy regarding the data has changed?
Sure. Policies have evolved just along with people's general understanding of the life cycle of information has changed. People are more aware of the lineage of the data, where it comes from, where it originates, how it is treated along the way versus how it gets to an end user, then how it is destroyed or sold. And so accordingly, different organizations and different governments now have to work together to kind of figure out what are the best practices for this. There are many areas that are looking into this with a far greater lens than other areas. The US, I feel like it lags a bit in comparison to the UK.
Huh.
And with this, we're seeing a greater need for people to advocate for their own data privacy and really kind of step up at their own organizations and take an interest in how is the information that we have here created, used, and destroyed.
Okay, thank you very much. So, what would you say? Of course, there is a lot of companies. So, based on their size, the industry that they work in, each case is basically different. But what is what would you say about the way companies treat data and use data now? Is it something that they do? Is it something that companies do well now, or is this still a long path to travel, I would say?
Well, we find that very few organizations are doing data well, I would say. We have at Forrester, we call them insights-driven businesses. So these
Okay.
are the organizations that are really advanced. And we find that less than 10% of organizations are advanced when it
Okay.
comes to insights-driven business maturity levels. What this means is that very few people are getting it right. Okay. So if you are one of those organizations that feels like a little bit vulnerable, like you don't have it all together, I want you to know that you're not alone. The key is understanding that you're not alone now, but you need to act now to fix this because it is not something that's going to go away. What you need to do is work forward to become more of a data-driven industry.
Okay, so more concretely, what can a company do on a very practical level to be actually more data-driven, or data-driven pure and simple for companies that aren't at this point?
Sure. The thing that I would advise most organizations to focus on is a concept called curiosity velocity. Okay.
Okay.
Curiosity velocity is simply put the speed by which a user moves from knowledge seeker to insights to action. Okay.
Okay.
So think about how long it takes for you to gather information, understand it, and then act upon it. Now, when you're an organization and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, where do I start specifically? I have 5 S's: seek, solicit, speak, safe to share.
Okay.
The first one, when we're talking about seek, where do users go to seek out existing information? Second thing you're going to want to think about is where do users go to solicit new or existing information? How do you know if one that you found in the first case is going to be used for a slightly different business purpose?
Mhm.
So that's when you're going to go ahead and figure out, okay, well, where are people going to ask questions about these things? When we talk about speak, we're talking about a little bit about data literacy here and a little bit more about data communication. We're talking a little bit about data storytelling here. It's about data fluency. Where's the learning management systems that people can go to learn to upskill with their data processes and policies and understanding how different programs and softwares work? Really, so that way, if they did find that magic report when they were in that seek mindset looking for information, now they know how to actually understand that program that they're using so they can move forward with it. The next one there was safe.
Yeah.
And by safe, I mean psychological safety. Psychological safety, for those who are not familiar with this concept, it's the ability to speak up without fear of rejection or ridicule. In my experience, during my time here at Forrester, that's one of the areas that I think most companies don't actually realize they have a problem. But when we talk about becoming data-driven, we're talking about changing mass behaviors of individuals within our organizations to leverage data to change their decision-making behaviors. But if we can't have uncomfortable conversations with data, then we're not going to be able to enact that change. And the last one is share, and that really has to do with information governance procedures. If you can't trust the information that you have available to you, then you're not going to be able to act on it and move forward with that information.
Okay, thank you very much. What I'm getting from what you're saying is that we're talking about data-driven policies, but even if it has a lot to do with the technological side of data, I would say the human and, as you were saying, psychological side of this is also very important, is capital for companies also.
Yes. Just less than 50% of individuals actually know where to go to search for existing information.
Okay.
And they also don't know where to go to ask questions about where to go find information. So this is the big problem. We just put out a blog, Your Data Culture is Dead on Arrival.
Yeah.
I highly recommend people check that out to see these lists of stats that we have there. But this is really the call to arms that I am putting forth to leaders for 2024 is you have to ask these 5 uncomfortable questions related to seek, solicit, speak, safe to share. You have to look in and find out, okay, where are the areas of those questions that make me the most uncomfortable? And then work with your teams and have team discussions about, if we were truly great, how might our employees search for information? How might they ask questions? All right, how might they interact with others? Do we start data communities to help people that are using similar tools across an entire enterprise? What are the things that we need to do?
Okay, well, thank you very much. Something that is also very important for companies to remind is that this data-driven, this predominance of data is not something that is bound to, I would say, bound to disappear. It is not a mere trend. It is something more like a change of paradigm. Some companies, whether they like it or not, whether they come to it soon or late, they will have to consider it and to update their policies accordingly to that.
Mm-hmm. Data isn't a passing fad. It's either you're doing it or you're out of business.
Okay, that's good to know. My last question, I would say, would be data-driven policies have a lot to do these days with AI tools, automation tools. For sometimes practical reasons, companies, especially from a modest size, can't deploy, can't implement those tools. What is the advice that you would give, that you would still give to these companies, the companies that can't deploy said tools? What can they do somehow in the meantime?
So most enterprise employees that I've talked to right now are in kind of a waiting period right now.
Okay,
they're waiting for their vendors to develop all of the different AI technologies that they can apply at work. They have to wait through their IT people to approve everything. They have to wait through board approval. They have to wait for funding. They have to wait for prices to come down. They have to wait for availability from the vendors itself. So what can you do now while you're waiting? Okay. There's really a few key things that you can do. First, focus on behaviors of people right now. Because what happens is when you do get magic access to those tools, they're going to say, okay, link it to your corpus of knowledge. And then you're going to go, great. Oh no, It's in a million different places. That's when it ties back to that curiosity velocity seek.
Yeah.
You have to go ahead and create, it can be ugly, a list of places that somebody might go to look for existing information now in your organization. All right. So that really is the first part, is really kind of starting to make those knowledge repositories of where might somebody go to look for information, because you're going to want to hook up those different AI chatbots to those corpuses of information. The next thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you're focused on how to help people write down the tacit information to make it explicit. You have to start saying the quiet part out loud at business today, because when we have these different tools, they're going to crawl over the text that you have in your systems. But if you don't say what you do in your different systems, if you don't have documentation that talks about how business is done and talks about how you form an ideal relationship or how you process information, then those different tools aren't going to be able to pick up that information. So thus, it's your responsibility to have data communicators that actually actively work to transcribe those tacit or intangible things that you do every day and make them into more structured information, so that way you can move forward.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Kim. Thank you very much for all your answers about that topic. I hope that companies and business leaders that watched these videos can learn a few takeaways from it, so that their data culture and their enterprise will not end up, as you said, DOA. So thank you very much for all your answers. As for me, I will be glad to see you all in a next webcast very soon. Have a nice day.